it'll all work out for your best. It might just not look it at the moment.
I love that. Again, it's like just stepping into trusting yourself, having the audacity to trust yourself. I mean, it is scary. It's frightening, but it's the people that choose themselves and take those chances is where you find that success. Because there's so many people that are like regretful and look at their guy and it's like, was never you. It sort of should have been Esteban, but, it's like I had it. We could have made it work. We could have went on 90 Day Fiance, but no, I had to be with Chuck. But I could have been Esteban
that show
the whole time. I do love that show too. It is really good. But I think you're hitting on something that's really important in terms of like being able to let go. And sometimes it's just taking that leap in action, because it's like, I always say it's like, there's this cost of inaction. So it's like, well, if he's acting a certain way or doing something for the next 6 months to a year, how would that make you feel? And if that's such a negative feeling, well, that's literally where you're at. Like that's what you're going to be condoning, right? So I love that. So with all that said, I'm curious, like, I want to, we're going to jump into tech guy. I think we're going to learn a lot through this process. Because I think it's like, and I love how open you are in this relationship and it's so beautiful to see. And I love, I scroll and I see him shirtless, all happy, playing with the dogs and stuff. And I was like, okay, traps. Okay. Triceps. I see you. So I see all that and I'm like, but it's so beautiful to see you in this space. And because I think a lot of people need to see that extra layer of how did she do it? What did she learn? How did she get out of her own way to receive this person that's different? Because it was unexpected, right? You weren't planning on this. So what was kind of that process of finding this person and how did you get out of your own way through that?
Oh, completely unexpected. I was 3 days out of like, when I say it was one of those like 2-3 monthers, when you're dating and then you start to realize like, so what happened was I was dating this homeboy right before, and this was before Clem got sick, and he was doing everything how I wanted. Like he was texting me every morning and we had cute little nicknames for each other in our phone. And on the first date, he planned the second date. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is it. Oh, this is it. We're the same ethnicity. Like everything matched. I was like, yes, okay. And I remember he wanted to meet all my friends. Like he was love bombing me. He wanted to meet all my friends immediately. He was FaceTiming me every night. I took him to the airport. It was like a whole thing. And then when he got back, he admitted, he was like, yeah, most of my relationships only last 2 months. He's never been in anything past. And I remember being like, the red flag glaring. And I was like, I knew in the back of my head, like, okay, there's something up here. And sure enough, it manifested where it's like, we got close. We started to get close. And then I'd start having open conversations with him. I wasn't scared anymore to be like, I would do touch bases. I'd be like, hey, so how are you feeling? Like, are you comfortable with us? Are you doing well? Like, is there anything you want to talk about? And he would always be like, then maybe he'd say something. I'm like, okay, hey, I encourage you to talk to me about this when it comes up. It only got worse. Then when Clem got sick, he was nowhere to be seen. Then we started having issues. And it was just one of those things that I was like sitting on his bed, and the moment of, okay, I could keep doing this and keep pretending everything's fine and keep living in LA and keep doing this. And then when Clem passed, he didn't come over. He didn't try to come see me. And I remember just being like, this is it. Like, I am kind of done. And frankly speaking, he had erectile dysfunction. Like it wasn't this. I wasn't missing out on anything is where I'm going.
So, yeah.
And
good.
So then when I decided to leave and I was like, all right, it. I had made the decision. I was like, I'm tired of dating. I was like, I'm exhausted. I said, you know what? Let me try. I'll leave Hinge passively. If a guy tries to match with me, great. None of them were interesting. I remember when I came down to San Diego and when Tech Guy came, the first thing my mom said was, I was like, what do you think of this guy? And she's like, not your type. That's not the normal guy you go for. I'm not the normal girl he goes for either. I am like 7 shades too light in my skin tone. Like he likes completely different women and I like I like tall, athletic, tattooed guys. He's just not that. Like, that's just what it is. And very handsome. Don't get me wrong. We're both attracted to each other. It's just not the type. And so when we went, like, I remember his profile and just the way he handled things. Like, he was we talked for 45 minutes. He went right into, let me take you out. Let me get your phone number. I was like, okay, this guy's doing it right. Super thoughtful. He was like, I know your dog just passed. Is it okay for me to bring my dog? And I was like, wow, that's really sweet. Didn't text a ton. We had the date. We hooked up.
It'd be like that. It'd be like that.
And the reason it worked out is because I left going, I may never see this guy again, but that was fun. I have needs. I didn't get the last 2 months of this last relationship. And I was like, if anything, that was just a good time. And I remember going home and telling my mom, and that was the first video I ever made. I was like, I don't know, I went on some date with this tech guy. And I was like, if he ever asked me out again, sure. And it just like, that's how it became a thing.
Self Hype Podcast.